Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Appreciate everybody joining us again. This is welcome to the Big 12 Insiders. Look, I know what you're thinking. Big B, why do you have a Steelers shirt on? Look, I'm in mourning. I'm in mourning because my beloved Steelers, our season is over, and I'm not going to be able to wear it too many more times this year, so might as well wear it today. So this is what we got. But I appreciate everybody being in here, man. Look, basketball in the Big 12 is up and cooking. We've got a lot going on this weekend. Of course, everybody is playing on Saturday. There's some intriguing matchups. A couple of games that, I've kind of pinpointed in on that could be big-time games. All of them obviously are important. We're still early in the season. But a couple of them I'm going to pinpoint as being really key matchups. So I appreciate you guys being in here. Again, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in that comment section. And as always, hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So let's get into it. And these are just kind of in the order of, the times that the games are coming on. So first off, Houston at Central Florida. Now, look, Houston is one of the better teams in the country. They're playing well. They're doing some things this year. They're making shots from deep. They got one of the best three-point shooters in the country. Now, Central Florida, or UCF, I should say, I apologize. UCF, they've had some upsets, a couple this year. They had some last year. But I think this is a game that they got to get if they want to be taken seriously moving forward in the Big 12, and if they're going to have an outside chance to make the tournament. They've lost some games. This is one at home. It should be rocking, but we'll see if UCF can pull this one out. They have a good team. I like the coach. I like what they do. Having said all of that, it's going to be tough to beat Houston, man. They play so grown up, if that makes sense. They just play a grown man's everything that you get on the offensive end, you're going to have to grind for it because we're not going to give you anything. And on your defensive end, we're going to try to punish you. We're just going to physically try to punish you. Oh, and when we're done with that, we can also shoot the lights out. So I really like this Houston team. Good matchup. Next up, K-State at KU. Look, KU got whipped by Iowa State on Wednesday. They did. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, but Iowa State's just better than KU is right now. Having said that, K-State stinks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. K-State is not a good basketball team this year. And let's just call it what it is. They brought in a ton of transfers. They missed. They just did. And I think the sooner that people with K-State fans can just come to realize they missed, it is what it is. I don't think the philosophy is wrong. There's plenty of teams around the country that are buying players to come in, but you have to build a team when you buy the players. And I think what Kansas State did is they just brought in players without actually building the team with pieces to go with each other. They just brought in players and said, we can figure it out. Well, you couldn't figure it out, and it's a disaster. KU, on the other hand, has done the same thing, but they built the team, struggling a little bit here or there. But it's Bill Self. Bill Self tends to get these things together. There may be some guys that are playing that may have to take a little bit of a back seat. We'll see what he does with rotations. But I don't expect this game to be close after probably the first 12 to 14 minutes of this game. It's in Allen Fieldhouse. Maybe it's closer longer than that. Hopefully it's a good game. I just don't anticipate it to be one. Arizona State going to Cincinnati. Look, Cincinnati was one of the teams that I thought was going to be really good within the Big 12. Well, they said, you know what, Big B, we're going to be so good that we're going to lose the first 4 games in conference. I'm like, I can't get Cincinnati right. I picked them dead last in football, and then, next to last in football, and that didn't happen. Then I picked them to finish in the upper half of the Big 12. Well, we still got a lot of basketball to go, but it's not turning out that way. But this is a big game. Arizona State is talented. Again, one of those teams, transfers, freshmen. We'll see what happens here. I like this basketball game. This is one of those games where I was talking about pinpointing because Cincinnati can start turning things around here. This is the game they got to win. And Arizona State, again, they've lost a few games here, but this is another team that was on maybe the outskirts of getting into the NCAA tournament. They got to win this type of a game. They got to go on the road and beat this type of a team, Cincinnati. And if they do, you can consider them, I don't want to say they're serious contenders to win the Big 12, but I think you can consider them a team that, you know what, if they come to play, they can do some damage, win a game or two in the NCAA tournament, but they got to get it consistent. This is a step in that direction. It's going to be tough going on the road. Cincinnati's not an easy place to play. Having said all of that, we'll see what happens. Then we got Arizona going to Texas Tech. In my opinion, it's the second best game of the weekend in the Big 12. Arizona playing some really, really good basketball. They lost some games early on in the season. People were kind of soured on Arizona. Maybe they have found their stride. You know, sometimes it just takes a minute. Just takes a minute to get things going when you're talking about basketball. You don't just come right out of the gate being extremely good. And maybe they are starting to hit on all cylinders. Like I mentioned, they're playing good basketball. Texas Tech, on the other hand, this is kind of different. Texas Tech scores a lot of points. Now, they didn't against Kansas State the other night. This is one of the more explosive offensive teams, not just in the Big 12, but within the country. So they shoot the ball pretty well. They shoot a lot of threes, or they make threes. I like Texas Tech in this game, but it's going to be close. Then again, it's second best game of the weekend. Two teams that I expect to be in the NCAA tournament. Also, two teams that haven't had the greatest of luck in the tournament once they get in, you know, kind of being upset in the tournament. I would suspect, now again, I keep saying this, we got a ton of basketball left. I suspect both of these teams are in the tournament, both of these teams to finish in the upper half of the Big 12, but also to win some games when it's time to get to the tournament. So second best game of the weekend, Arizona at Texas Tech. Colorado and Oklahoma State. Look, both teams, nobody predicted to be very good. Colorado lost a lot to the NBA and the transfer portal. Oklahoma State, coaching change. We'll see how all that goes. Now, Oklahoma State won a game last week against Kansas State, but we mentioned Kansas State not great. We'll see what happens. This game, neither one of these teams I'm predicting are going to make the NCAA tournament. A lot of basketball that, I mean, maybe they can surprise, but just not a ton of talent. Like the coaches. I really like the coaching staffs on both of these ball clubs, but maybe a year away. Maybe both of them are a year away. Then we got Iowa State going to West Virginia. In my opinion, the best game of the weekend within the Big 12. Iowa State, number 2 ranked team in the country, sitting at the top or right near. Yeah, they're at the top of the Big 12. Coming off a big win over Kansas. We'll see how that translates. You know, a lot of times, and you know, it's the old cliche, you win an emotional game at home against a good team, you go on the road, and then you get beat. Well, I think one of the things is Iowa State is a veteran team, so they're not just a young team. Two, I mean, the game wasn't super close or even really that emotional against Kansas, was it? I mean, if we're being honest, I mean, they kind of controlled the entire basketball game. You know, Kansas got it close, and then immediately Iowa State bumped it out to 10 points, and the game really didn't get close again after that. So it wasn't that emotional, but again, Iowa State is a veteran team, and they're not going to be overlooking West Virginia. West Virginia is good. You know, this is not we're going on the road and playing some Rudy Poot team. West Virginia is really good. They're a surprise to be this good, especially with some of the injuries that they've had. But West Virginia is good. I expect it to be a raucous crowd. You know how West Virginia crowd is. So it's going to be rowdy. But I love this matchup. I love this matchup. And again, it can give some validity. If West Virginia can win this game, it'll give even more validity. I shouldn't say some, even more validity to their season. You know, so they don't say, well, they beat Kansas and I know there was guys hurt, but it was a fluke or something like that. No, West Virginia is a good basketball team. West Virginia is a good basketball team, somebody that I expect to win a lot of games within the Big 12 and get into the NCAA tournament. So, in my opinion, that is the best game of the weekend. Then we got BYU at Utah, huge rivalry. BYU, again, another team that I thought, hey, they've got something here. kind of stumbled a little bit as of late. They've kind of stumbled. Utah, in my opinion, look, that's a good win they had over TCU, but I think Utah, this is a game that I think they would love to be able to win, because I thought that BYU, I'm going through their schedule here, they've lost a couple of games, but you lose to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is really good. Providence, and then to get into the Big 12, struggled. Houston, Tech. The only one that TCU, I think they are better than them, but it was on the road. It is what it is. But I like BYU in this one. I think they're a better team than Utah, but it's a rivalry game. I'm not going to call it the Holy War or anything like that, like the football game. I said, but it's a rivalry game. I'll be really interested to see this game. I think this weekend is kind of action-packed for the Big 12. I really think that it is. Again, we're on TV. This is an opportunity and it's not all marquee matchups per se, but there's a few games in here that will intrigue you, that you should keep your eye on. I mentioned them. The Arizona at Texas Tech game. Yep. Iowa State at West Virginia. Yep. And even the Houston at UCF. And I know that game, I know a lot of people are going to say, come on, Big B, what are you talking about? Just keep your eye on it. Just keep your eye on it, So power rankings are going to be out on Tuesday for Big 12 basketball. So make sure you guys are paying attention. We'll come out with our power rankings. We're done, obviously, with football for the year. So basketball, we're going from here on out. Obviously, we'll continue to talk about certain subjects when they come up with football. College football playoff championship game is Monday, but we're going to be covering what happened this weekend in the Big 12 in this conference. Then we may get to that when we get to it. So we're focusing on basketball. I think we are the premier basketball league in this country. I know that the Big Ten and the SEC may have something to say about that, but I think we got an opportunity. I do. I think we got an opportunity. We lost some games early, but that's early. Let's see what happens down the road. So appreciate you all tuning in, man. Thank you guys for taking the time. As always, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comments. Let me know if there's something you guys want me to cover basketball-wise. I appreciate it. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.